We can't make believe too hard because if we do, we're gonna end up like all the people that Eric's reading on Kindle Unlimited with their crappy self-published isekais.
Man,
They're not all crappy.
They're all made. The majority of them are, and the ones that aren't have a large amount of crappy.
I read one that was really bad.
We now have a reading segment with Eric Smith.
they're not.
Let me pull up my Goodreads.
Go ahead.
We have an isekai reading by Eric from an
Let's see
self-published author on
hear it.
Kindle Unlimited.
No, I just need to find the book name. So much crap in here.
Like, so are they putting these up for people to buy them?
Yeah, you can buy them.
Okay, gotcha.
But
Yes.
if you subscribe to Kindle Unlimited,
Yeah, so if you get normally on Kindle you buy everything, but if you get Kindle Unlimited, they give you a whole slew of things because it's a subscription service that you get for free now.
it's like a library. You can only pull out like 10 books at a time. And then you have to return.
gotcha.
And not everything that's on Kindle you can read in Kindle Unlimited, but there's a lot of things you can. And it seems like a lot of things that are self-published instead of things that come from a publishing house, it seems like a lot of those things are free to read on Kindle Unlimited. It just so happens that a bunch of gigaweebs are on there writing their own fan fiction isekais, and Eric's like, I like reading things now, so let me jump in on this.
My question is, does Audible work the same way?
So it does now.
It does now.
So it
Okay,
didn't.
perfect.
So it didn't used to.
I tried it like three or 4 years ago or whatever.
So
and I was just like, man, I don't want to pay
So
$10 for each
So I
book
guess
or
I
whatever.
guess we're gonna have a separate segment on advertising for Amazon services. But yeah, so in the past month or two, they have an Audible Plus membership now,
and it's
So-
like a subscription based
yeah.
thing.
So
That's
Audible
what I
so,
want.
so Audible is usually subscription based, but I think they're like $11 tier is their 1 credit a month, but they have like an $8 tier that is just their Audible Plus catalog now. So if you get their credits, you get that on top of the credits for other books. But if you just say I don't want the credits to buy my own books, I just want whatever you'll give me for free in a subscription service. They have
Man,
that.
I always
and there's some pretty decent stuff on there.
Yeah.
Like you can, for anyone that actually reads things, there's a lot of C.S. Lewis stuff on there. Viktor Frankl's stuff is on there.
That's what I
the
wanted.
Search Meaning for Man or something.
I wanted.
There's a lot of classics on there read by famous people.
I wanted
There's
to
a
read
ton of stuff.
the Narnia, the Chronicles of Narnia, and I also wanted to read like Redwall. You ever heard of Redwall?
Doesn't sound familiar.
Okay, yeah, that's some European.
So unfortunately, so I've got the Chronicles of Narnia on Audible. Unfortunately, it's not in the subscription for service. You have to pay. But
you get the points.
But if you do get, so you can get the entirety of the Chronicles of Narnia for 1 Audible credit, so for like $11, you can get all of them. They have them all separated out that you can buy as well, but for some reason they have a whole conglomerated version of them. And the one they have that's all 7 books together, the guys that are reading it, like what's his name? Kenneth Branagh is reading the first one. And they have a whole bunch of other actors and actresses that read the rest of the books. So it's a pretty good deal for like $11-$12 for the 1 credits.
That's what I wanted it to be like way back when I tried it. So that's
Got a
because
lot
it's just
better.
Yeah, so they have. So that exists now, but yeah, the Kindle Unlimited has been around for like almost forever. And there's some pretty
There's been a lot of ups and downs with it, but right now for Kindle Unlimited, you can do like a year subscription for like $30.
which is
That's really
ridiculous
good.
because normally it's like $10 a month or something like that.
Right.
So
Like a
getting
normal
and
subscription.
I think they're really trying to push that service because they don't have a whole lot of really good stuff on there. So trying to convince somebody to get it for like $5 or $10 a month, and then convincing someone to say, hey, for $30 for a whole year, here's a whole bunch of garbage and a couple gems. It's not bad.
Because that's similar. Isn't like Amazon Prime like $100 for a year or something?
$120 now.
120.
Yeah, but I mean, if you buy a whole lot of stuff on Amazon Prime,
my Amazon Prime,
it's
like,
totally
is justified already.
and just letting you know, you should get a credit card through Amazon as well because you get 5% back on anything you buy on Amazon Prime. And I had a joke with Eric coming back a couple weeks ago from Mexico when he was slightly inebriated. I was like, Eric, you should totally get one of those. And he's like, and I'm like, listen, if you give God 10% back and Amazon is giving you 5% back for shopping on Amazon Prime, you're basically a demigod. You're half deity, so just go in and do it. And it literally, I was sitting there waiting for the joke to like hit Eric. I thought he would just like laugh at it and just nothing, no reaction for like 15, 20 seconds, and then all of a sudden he's like, I get it, and I'm like, oh wow, Eric.
Sorry, I dozed off for a second.
It was so funny. It was so funny, but yeah, Amazon services have been getting a lot better in recent years. So
that's awesome.
There's a lot of gems on it. A lot of treasures
yeah.
too.
So if we want to have a isekai reading by Eric from Kindle Unlimited segments.
Oh, no. I was finding in the book that I read, not to like bash the person who wrote it, but it's called The Tentacle Awakens, Human Princess Magical Chaos.
All right, that
That sounds
not
like
good.
the most generic thing on earth.
Well, I was just like, it was different in the sense that they were specifically brought into the world to be the bad guy. They were the antagonist.
Okay, so instead of bringing in the Chad,
hero,
you're bringing in
The
okay.
antagonist. So like you're summoned by the demon lord. You're a chaos who has a special power. to, like,
It's literally saying you summon Satan.
yeah, essentially. And there was like you can animorph and do all this weird stuff. You got a lot of latent magical power. I was like, this could be cool. Nothing really happened with that. There was a weird party that was in it. There was like weird lollies with a lobster claw and these very awkwardly written sex lesbian scenes. It's like,
Why are you
super
all doing
weird.
this? Why are you all doing this? Why are you ruining this
This
for
was
us?
super weird. And this was just the first novel.
Right.
How many more are there in this series?
I think there was like up to 7 or 8.
What is going on, guys?
But like, I was skipping ahead. I was like, I'm not gonna read anymore.
Right.
So I looked at like the synopsis for like volume 4. It's like, oh, I've turned on my mother, the demon lord, and all this. I've joined up with the party and I'm fighting. I'm just like, what? What happens in these other novels? And like the 5th novel's like reboot. I'm just like, what?
We've already got to reboot our self-published series.
I was just like, whoa, back up the train. What happened to the lolly with the lobster claw and stuff?
That is funny.
So there's some weird stuff on there,
Yeah.
and there's some gems like the cat familiar.
Right.
So,
That sounds fantastic.
either it's weird.
Nice.
Oh, that's great. So, yeah, that's extra fun segments you can add there.
Yeah, I'll put this.
Speaking of reading, you know what because we're on old man reading time. You know what
Right,
I've been
right.
You know what I've been reading recently?
Reading. Tell me.
Moby Dick.
See,
Because why not?
like I'm thinking about it. I'm just like,
because okay,
like,
so
I'm like, yeah, I haven't read that, but at the same time, do I want to read that?
So like growing up, we never read like a bunch of the classics. Going
Same,
through cool.
same.
So I'm like, you know what? Let me read some of them, but let me just do the isekai roulette and pick one of the classics. Like a couple years ago, I'm like, let me go like the beginning of the Western canon. So I read like the Iliad and the Odyssey.
Okay.
So I don't care what anyone says about stands from JoJo's. They
Right.
started in the Iliad and the Odyssey. Like, no kidding. You get into like book 3 or book 4 of the Odyssey when like wars are going on, and like Hector is going out there fighting, and Diomedes is out there fighting, and all of a sudden like these god stands are showing up like fighting behind them and stuff. I'm like, is this a persona? Is this a stand?
At first, I was gonna say like, man, why would you want to do this or whatever? But then I thought about it. I was like, dude, like a few years ago, I went and watched the old like scary movies or
And
the
here you
black and
are.
white ones and stuff like that. And I'm like, they're actually like, you know, it's not that they're like good or like really well written, but it's because like they're highly regarded that like I
They-
kind
they
of want to
kinda
watch it just to know like what it's about.
Right.
Well, it's just like for those, it's a lot of the special effects and those.
Yeah.
Into it.
Yeah.
So like with Moby Dick, like everyone knows Captain Ahab. Everyone knows, oh, going on a boat, gonna harpoon a whale. Oh, I died. Everyone gets it, but I'm like, why don't I try actually reading it and see what the hype is about? I'm not very far. The book is like 130 some chapters. It's long. It's like 700 pages. So I'm only like 20 chapters in. It's pretty good. It's really good.
Like Robinson Crusoe.
Yeah.
You know, dude washes up on a beach and survives, but just like instead of the condensed book you read in high school, like the actual book is a lot of crap he goes through.
So I'm like, you know what? How many of the classics have we like? We basically know the stories of,
but never actually.
but like it isn't about the destination, it's the journey to get there. And that's kind of what Moby Dick is. And so far it's been really fun. It's been really like, no one knows about Queequeg, but reading about him in the book and all the like crazy antics he does, like sitting and meditating in the middle of the room with his like thing on his head, and Eli comes in and he's like, "Are you dead? What's wrong with you?" And he's just sitting there, and everyone's freaking out. And then the son comes up and he's like, "I'm done," and Eli's like, "What?"
I mean, yeah,
Stuff like that is just crazy. And fun to read
that's
about.
absolutely what I thought of. What is it, Inglourious Basterds?
Oh, yeah,
When I
yeah.
watch that and stuff. The 2 scenes in that movie that are fantastic, which is the first scene right at the beginning.
Okay,
Like,
yeah. That's yes.
And then
Yep.
the second scene is the bar scene, which
of all
my
of
goodness.
all of cinema, probably in my top 5 easily. That entire
Those
the
two
entire
specific things
from
are
beginning
good.
to end of that
the
is so
whole
good.
movie in general, I wasn't a big fan of.
Really?
Yeah, so for starters, I really hated the fact that they actually showed the scalping.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's just
But that's a Tarantino
I
thing.
could
He's
not-
he's always Giga Gore.
I could not look at that thing. And the fact that the guys are literally screaming as they're doing it and
Yeah,
stuff like
it's
that, I'm
rough.
just like, no, please stop.
Which is funny
Whatever.
because then when he goes later to do the swastika in the guy's forehead, he starts to show some of it, but you never watch the
Yeah,
whole thing.
yeah,
But
yeah.
you show the scalping of all the other guys
Yeah,
earlier,
yeah.
so it's kind of like that, subverting expectation kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's just like I didn't understand. So I know he's got his own universe or whatever and stuff like that, but I didn't really understand the point of the movie. So
It's a theoretical.
Yeah, it's kind of like what if we actually killed Hitler?
like this or whatever, like in a burning building.
But if Tarantino were to tell us, what if we killed Hitler? It's basically what the movie is.
There was that Tom Cruise movie, Operation Valkyrie, where it was the theoretical mission to kill Hitler
Right.
with his SS officers.
Yep.
That was okay. But then it's like, what if you killed Hitler? And Tarantino's just like, hold my beer.
And then you got video games like Sniper Elite that are like, now you can shoot Hitler in the balls.
and you literally get to watch the bullet go through.
Right.
Yeah, in slow motion.
It's like, yeah, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna read some of the classics because last year I read War and Peace because everyone's like,
I've
if there's
heard,
one
yeah,
novel
yeah.
you have to read War and Peace. So I'm
That's
like,
really long, isn't
it's
it?
1,100 pages.
Like that's like
So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna say it's really good. Wouldn't recommend it unless you're really going to invest in it because it's literally like watching a Russian soap opera.
Man.
There's so much crap that happens that has nothing to do with anything. It's just
there.
Tolstoy like, hey, I was a reporter and I saw this stuff. I'm gonna put it in my book. It's not gonna do anything in the book but world build.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, that's like a lot of good stuff. That's similar to Hunter x Hunter when I think about it or whatever. It's Hunter x Hunter it's definitely longer than it should be, but man, like you care about the side characters,
Right.
Like,
And that's what happened in War and Peace. Like there's characters that are side characters later in the movie, but there's so much world building leading up to that
you actually care about.
And then when those side characters die, even though they're in literally like 4 chapters, you're like, no, how did you die this way? And literally like later in the book, there's like these Metal Gear Solid missions that they go on.
right.
And I'm just like, this is kind of crazy.
Dude. So OG Gundam, right? I know. I'm going back to it, right?
Okay.
Ramba Rao,
Sounds
the blue giant or whatever.
Okay, yeah.
I did not know that he was the guy in Origin because when they made him in Origin, they made him look different or whatever. So I was just like, that's him. That's him. I like that guy. That guy was really cool, and he was really cool in this.
So-
Like, why?
So OG Gundam is always going to be super important to all of Gundam. So when we grew up, the 2 big Gundam things that were playing almost constantly on Toonami, I'm going to lose it. Gundam Wing
Gundam Wing. Okay.
and the 008.
Double Gundam. No, it was just Double Gundam.
There was Double Gundam, and
Gundam,
it was the 89th MS team.
No, that was never shown on.
Was it not?
No,
Or was
'cause
that on Adult
was an
Swim?
OVA series.
But they showed it
right.
on Adult
They
Swim.
might have showed it, but the
So-
big ones were Gundam Wing, and Double Gundam.
So the 89th, or I can't
Wing's
remember what it's
the
called.
shoujo.
008th MST.
Yeah, the 08
Wing's the
MST.
shoujo one, right?
That OVA is absolutely incredible. When I saw it the first time, and I'm like, how is this so good? And I didn't realize like way later that when you watch OG Gundam, there's one of the battles there that like right afterwards, that's when that OVA happens. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
Right.
maybe
like, a
old
lot of
stuff
these-
is pretty good.
A lot of these side stories are happening during other
Yeah,
parts because
yeah.
there's that really weird CGI one where you're following a ship with the Xenon Force.
Oh yeah.
It's like it's like a
The chibi one or
No, it's like it's all done in like CGI.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I
Gotcha.
can't remember what it's called.
But it's like I think it's like Igloo, something like that.
Oh, okay.
It's ringing a bell, maybe.
I'll have to look it up. I'm pretty sure it's Gundam Igloo, but it's all like 3D CGI,
Mm-hmm.
and it's about a Xenon force that's just being harassed by a Gundam out there, and it's just them surviving and doing Xenon stuff.
That sounds awesome.
And see, that's what makes Gundam so good, is because they've established this entire world that, for better or for worse, whatever people think about it, within that, all these side series that end up showing up tell really good stories within that universe, and that's where I'm like, we need more stuff that just does that.
I thought Unicorn was like years in the future or whatever. No, it's like almost a sequel.
Yeah.
It's like literally like Bright comes in and I'm just like, you're still around? I was like looking at him now. I was like, when does this take place? And I'm looking at it. I'm just like, the Minerva or whatever, who is like a teenager in Unicorn, was like a little girl in like the original one. And I'm just like, so this is only like a decade later or something.
So the actual sequel to OG Gundam, what was it? Zeta?
It was Zeta Gundam.
Yeah, Zeta Gundam. How because that was like what, was it 14 years after not like in our timeline, but on their timeline? Was it 14 years after OG Gundam in universe?
It can't have been.
I can't remember.
Yeah, this one I believe is like 10 years after, and this one's after Zeta.
So I'm not gonna lie, I never finished Zeta, and I never watched the series after that, the one with Char, the trilogy of OG Gundam. I never.
Dude, you'll love the Origin. The Origin's so good.
Really?
Yeah. It's fantastic.
Every time I look at the Gundam universe, I'm like, there's so much.
I know.
Why do I want to get into this?
I'm looking at it, I'm just like, man, I have light years, and I also have like light years for the like Loop in the Third or whatever. It's like there's so much that I still haven't watched that I want to watch so much. There's what else? I'm still trying to watch Dragon Ball Z or whatever. It's not that I'm like not into it.
Just watch Kai.
See, but like I want to watch Z.
The only thing you're missing in Kai that you get in Z that is kind of interesting, you're missing the Garlic Jr. saga arc, which was technically all filler, but it links in with one of the movies that isn't canon, but now you have an in-canon filler series, so it does this weird interplay with the movie. You miss that. And literally the only significant thing that's actually fun, that's a fun filler, is the freaking learning to drive episode with Piccolo and Goku. you missed that in Kai, but you get that in Dragon Ball Z. It is the best episode of Dragon Ball Z. Dude. Watching them learn how to drive, and you're like, just fly. Why aren't you just flying somewhere? And Chi-Chi's like, no, you're gonna learn to drive because you gotta be normal citizens within this world when things are normal. And Goku's like, okay, and Piccolo's like, I'm green. Why do I need to learn to drive? It's such a good episode.
Why do I need to learn to drive when I can fly everywhere?
But that's literally all you need OG Z for, is like the fun filler episodes. But Kai is literally just so much better.
I mean, like,
really
Gundam's the same way because you can just follow the main story. All the other stuff is literally side stories.
Right.
But see, man, like when I watched the original one, I didn't regret a single episode of that thing. Like I know it sounds like I'm like I understand what you guys are saying about it, where it's like, okay, yeah, it was literally made to sell toys, but it's so like everything they did in it, there's so much that's copied off of it.
Yeah, it made the trope and it made the archetype of
it didn't even just make
popularizing mechas.
Yeah, it didn't even just make it in like, you know, like just kind of like half year ended or whatever. It's like legit good.
Yeah,
it really
is
fantastic.
Yeah. I believe it was one of the first series that successfully told stories with like war orphans and children that are involved with political machinations that actually are substantial, not just being, you know, kids in the story to be kids in the story. They actually do things and they're significant.
The first episode alone and stuff like that, like there's like
saving people out of the domes and stuff.
People just like literally die, like a colony dies.
And kids just growing a backbone and being like, no, we gotta do this thing and stuff.
The kids are like, everyone else is like evacuating to the white base. I don't know if it's called the Japanese, but the white base, the main ship or whatever.
Yeah, it's called the white base.
Gotcha.
White base.
Cha. But yeah, they all like get there and they're just like, yeah, you're like the only ones. Everyone else is kind of old and they don't know how to do any of this. But you guys can like, you know, you halfway know how to do it because you're kind of in school to learn how to do this stuff or whatever. You're gonna do it. And so they're all just like going in and they're like, I guess we're the runner. We're everyone who's running the crew now. Pretty much, we are the crew. So that's what I really enjoy about it.
And that's cool with OG Gundam. I get it. I still like streamlining because
time's kind of important.
Which is why I like Kai so much better than DBZ, because when you pare down 300 plus episodes into 100 something.
Yeah.
And I think it follows more closely the manga's pacing because the anime and the manga were going on at the same time, and Toriyama's doing his thing, and they're like, we need some more stuff. But
So let's drag out this boo fight real quick.
I'm just waiting for them to finally condense down the gigantic mess that is Macross.
So I never got into Macross because
I never got into it so
because
daunting.
it's such a mess.
Right.
The starting point is not the starting point.
Right.
There's so many off series that are all canon. There's just,
Yeah.
you literally look at a chart for it. It's this gigantic web.
And then when you get into the like in our world, a chronological first thing, it's like, oh, it's somewhere over here. And you're like, it's not at the start. Nah.
It's similar to like I think also when they brought it here, they did some stuff with like isn't Macross part of like where Robotech comes from or whatever?
I don't know. I don't know
Robotech
if there's
comes from something,
yeah. I don't
so
know.
it's not
I don't
actually Robotech.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a spin-off
Yeah.
or if it's like alternate universe kind of thing, but they are related, I believe.
Macross is like this all-encompassing gigantic universe.
Right.
It's gross.
And like that also reminds me of like Zoids. When we got Zoids, yeah,
Zoids.
When we got Zoids, we got the sequel.
Eric, it's 6 a.m. on a school day. Get up, Zoids is on Cartoon Network.
And they're just like Zoids, Zoids. Yeah,
So hyped.
We literally got the sequel first. Like chaotic country century or
Chaotic
whatever.
Century.
Yeah, chaotic century. That was the original one. The one we got with what is it?
Oh yeah, it was the same way with Fire Emblems. We got the sequel.
Right.
We got the sequel, which was actually the prequel.
To the
So 6 and 7. We got 7 as our very first Fire Emblem, and it's the sequel to 6, but it's a prequel to 6, and we got the prequel first, and then the sequel, which was the prequel chronologically, never came out in America.
Literally just going
like
through
nonsense
this
like
stuff.
that.
It's just like, it's like, man, you just gotta like get like a map sheet to like figure out where to start.
Right. Oh
Well,
my
like
gosh.
Zoids didn't even bring everything over.
Right.
They brought like the sequel first, and then they're like, oh, we got to bring like Zoids, Chaotic Century, and Fusers over.
Yeah.
And then they're still making more, and they're like, Genesis is coming out, and they're just like, we're just not going to bring any more of this over.
I'm just thinking back to like
Stupid kids.
Beyblade.
We'll license whatever we can for the kids, get our money, and get out.
Yeah. It's like they
some
don't need
toys and
to.
dip.
They don't need to understand this. They don't need to know
I
who
didn't understand
Vaughn
what's
is.
going on.
Yeah,
I just
no
know it's
idea.
like Liger Zero's doing his thing, taking out the new monster of the
And
week.
we're getting hype and buying toys.
Liger Zero is that's like the coolest Zoid ever, man. Like that was my favorite by far.
Well, just like you look at him, it's like all these other ones have like guns and stuff, and they're really cool. And,
And
like
he's
mobile
got
bases.
blades and a shield.
And like he's literally just running around with a shield, and just doing his thing. It's like, so when's the moment you get that one CGI scene where he does his run up, the blades come out, he goes through them and does that like Power Ranger stance, and then the other Zoid blows up.
Yeah, oh man, it's
Zoids in a nutshell.
Zoid. Oh my god, oh man, I love this.
We've
so much.
summarized hundreds of episodes of Zoids for you.
Pretty much.
Like, and it was so cool because like you actually got to see like Vaughn like get older and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like when you got to Chaotic Century or whatever. And what was the guy in? Was it Irvine? No, Irvine was.
Yeah, Irvine. It was Irvine.
No,
in the,
I'm thinking in the sequel. Whatever.
You're talking the one, the Sniper Wolf.
No. I'm talking about the. Was he? No. Irvine was in Chaotic Century. Right.
You're thinking of the dude with the long hair, eye patch that did the Sniper Wolf.
Yeah. He's in Chaotic Century.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the sequel series with the White Liger or whatever. Who's the main character in that one? Because Vaughn is the main character in Century.
Getting past my Zoids knowledge.
Oh, right. You didn't watch that one? You didn't watch.
So it starts as a
That
red.
was literally just. It was called just Zoids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember very
And
little.
basically, he finds a special Liger unit. Yeah, it's just blue and has basic stuff. And then he
That's
finds other
Century.
capabilities. Yeah.
That's Century.
That's what we got
Yeah.
first.
No, we got that one second. Yeah, because that is the first one, and we got it second.
The same thing happened with Yu-Gi-Oh! Because Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the sequel to whatever the game master, whatever stuff, where you actually see him like use and lose
right.
Exodia and all this stuff. So
Right.
so we get the sequel to Yu-Gi-Oh! First, and they do all these flashbacks to stuff, and you're like, oh, is this like in universe that we're supposed to know about, but you just talk about it? Then you find out later, no, that was an actual series they just didn't bring over.
Well, they kind of redid it and brought it back.
They did, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But yeah, that was kind of the landscape in like early 2000s and onward. It's just like we're gonna license whatever the heck we can,
Right,
And then
right.
like for the longest time we had Johto, or not, we didn't have Johto. We had the Indigo series, like up until Blaine, and then it stopped, and we didn't get Giovanni onward for like a year because reasons.
Yeah. And then there was the Orange Islands. And
Yeah,
everything.
which
Seven Islands took so long.
It was just like
all filler, but the one time I will say good filler because you see Ash fight Lance and the Pikachu Dragonite fight is to die for. It's absolutely incredible.
So we weren't able to watch Pokemon until like Pokemon Advance came out pretty much or whatever. It was like a good chunk of time. But when me, my brothers, and my dad would watch like Saturday morning cartoons like all the time because things like Teen
Same.
Titans would come on or whatever and stuff like that. And as you know, he's very into like superheroes, comic books and stuff like that. So we're watching that stuff, and Pokemon Johto would always come on like afterwards or whatever, and we wouldn't watch it, but he would let the opening play because he liked the opening.
It was funny because we'd been watching growing up the Pokemon anime. Up until we watched Indigo, we watched the Orange Islands, which also was good because you see Ash finally gain the trust of Charizard. That was also really cool. And then I remember for me, I don't know when Eric finally dropped it in his brain. I remember Johto up until the Whitney gym battle.
Okay.
With Miltank and all that, and then after that things get hazy because I don't know if I stopped watching it at that point.
Johto.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to watch it. By the time I didn't.
I just remember getting stupid hype because Brock is back and they dropped that loser Tracy.
Dude, Tracy!
Get out of here! Get out of here, Tracy! Get out of here! You shouldn't even exist.
He's like just waving his hand.
So my boy Brock comes back, and I guess he got his heart broken by Lorelai. Dirty Lorelai.
Wait. Was it?
Yeah, because he ends up
Professor Ivy. Yeah.
Was it Ivy?
Yeah. Because he's like Professor Ivy. I'm going to stay and help you.
Yeah,
sorry, Lorelai. You're back on possible best girl list. But yeah, I remember him getting broken heart. And he's like, all right, fine, let's go to Johto. And I'm like, here we go. And then he's catching like a pine cone.
And then he
all
also
this
goes
stuff.
to Hoenn.
And see that's where I end up dropping everything. I just know Brock is the truest bro because he's like, you know what, Pewter Gym, I could just chill and do my thing and be like super close to Ash's mom. Nah, I'm gonna travel this world with this perpetual 9-year-old.
He has a birthday.
Super close.
Sure.
He has a birthday, but how old is he?
I don't know, but he has a birthday in X and Y.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
So he might actually
He has one birthday.
But how old is he is the question because if that's
He
his
has-
only birthday that he's had so far, he's 11.
He has one birthday.
And it's funny watching those series growing up with Ash because looking back, every single one of his female companions, Misty being the most susceptible to this, they're all thirsty for this kid. But growing up, we're just like,
You didn't meet Serena.
Serena is the one. Like
She's the childhood friend.
she's the childhood friend, comes back, and are you ever gonna watch it?
listen, I played Blue and Red. There's 4 houses in Ballot Town. Ain't no Serena's house. No, I'm never gonna watch it.
Okay, so like
spoil away.
At the end of
spoilers.
X and Y, like Serena actually like kisses Ash.
So I remember in the second Pokemon movie with Lugia, Misty basically has a confession scene.
Right. You're right.
And then nothing ever happens with it.
Yeah.
I think when
The movies are non-canon.
because I think whenever she's then stopped traveling with Ash, she basically was like, "Why don't you notice me, senpai? Guess I'm gonna go be a gym leader." And Ash is just like, "What are girls?"
Wait, are the movies non-canon?
I believe.
Forever.
Well, so the first
Forever.
one is canon. The Mewtwo one. It has to be because the Mewtwo arc with Giovanni in the series, that's where he darts out of there.
yeah.
In
So
Pokemon Journeys now, he mentions that he rode on an Entei. He said
maybe some of them are selectively
And
canon
then-
because I know
Yeah.
the first one is canon. The second one I don't think is canon.
The second one is definitely not
because
canon.
because
in
where in the
4
Orange Islands are they going to go to wherever they went to get to?
Yeah.
When he, in the new series, he rides a Lugia, and he's done similar things like
Right,
in the
in
second
the
movie
movies,
and all
right.
that.
Yeah.
He never makes mention of it. So
Yeah.
He's a
But
forgetful
in
9-year-old.
Forever with Professor Oak.
yeah.
Yeah, that one seems very canon in my opinion. That's
I think
like
it's
my favorite one.
It's probably selectively canon because I mean,
Someone in the comments
Deoxys was
let us
throwing
know.
a meteor at the world and Rayquaza fought it in space.
Yeah. Man.
Oh man, I'm making a mess.
Ew. Don't worry.
It's funny. The DBZ movies are kind of the same thing.
Dude, okay, so for
Beca-
starters, any shonen movie is pretty much non-canon.
Because
Think
it's
about
funny because they weren't canon, and then they needed filler for Dragon Ball Z, so they made the Garlic Jr. Saga arc, which came from one of the movies, which inadvertently made that movie canon. So it wasn't canon, and then they needed filler, and then they used one of the non-canon movies as canon.
They made canon filler.
Didn't they have to go? Didn't they have to do a roundabout way to make Brawley canon?
So I don't.
He's introduced in the movies.
So he is, and I believe it has been confirmed because of the newest Dragon Ball movie with the new Brawley in, making old Brawley non-canon. But for the longest time, a lot of people were saying that the Brawley movies were canon because they'd always talk about a legendary Super Saiyan, and Brawley pretty much called himself that, and it was never denied in either the series or the movie. So it was like this perpetual, is Brawley canon? Is he not? But once we got that newest movie, it was like, okay, they've officially said it's not canon, but still, I think there's some of the other Dragon Ball Z movies are like that with like Janemba. They're not sure if he's canon.
Right.
So Gogeta is now canon, so we don't know if that movie was canon or not, which I think is the movie with Janemba, because you get Gogeta. No, that's Goku doing the dragon uppercut. There's one, it's this Janemba movie where they do the fusion to make Gogeta, and everyone's like, is this canon or not? And then with the new Broly movie, Gogeta shows up.
I thought Gogeta was always canon because they had to use Gogeta to beat Omega Shenron.
Which GT,
we
are pretty sure is not canon. Okay. So Koei has not actually Koei Tecmo or whatever, has not actually come out and said GT isn't canon, but I think everyone's seen the writing on the wall to realize GT can't be canon, but in a timeline it technically could fit because they're not in GT's continuity yet, in the actual amount of time it would take to get there, because Pan is still a kid, or a baby.
So I had this conversation with my dad like earlier this week or whatever, and so and he was basically asking about the Hunter x Hunter movies and the My Hero Academia movies and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I was explaining to him, I was like, so more often than not, a shonen movie or whatever is going to be literal garbage or whatever because it's not going to be canon.
Right.
They can't make it canon.
It's a big what-if story.
Because it's like, for starters, where would they place it? At the same time, they're going to assume that the audience watched the movie to understand the canon of the story or whatever.
So and you can't do that.
You can't do that. So what you have to do is you have to make something that isn't going to break the story, which means that nothing important can happen in it. And so, yeah. And I was like, that's why they're not very...
Is the new Demon Slayer movie canon?
There's a Demon Slayer movie. Which just got released on Netflix.
That one might be, but I remember when we watched the My Hero Academia movie?
Right.
And that was like terrible, other than All Might doing his glorious pose at the end and just flying to the sky like this. Like,
which might be worth just watching for that.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, the difference between that, the Demon Slayer movie, was literally the #1 selling movie in theaters in Japan.
That's because the anime...
Like it beat Spirited Away and Frozen and all that.
Oh, what?
Like it was the most popular movie ever in Japan.
Whoa.
That is baffling.
Yeah.
Demon Slayer is super popular.
I knew it was super popular in Japan, but I didn't realize it was that popular.
Its movie crushed the box office.
Demon Slayer...
I'm gonna have to watch. I've never actually watched Demon Slayer.
Demon Slayer is #1 right now, I think, for like the light manga.
That's a UFO table.
Yeah.
And I might have to actually watch that.
Everything else, second place has like a 10th of the sales that Demon Slayer has.
Wow.
Demon Slayer is freakishly popular.
Popular.
It's an adaptation from a light novel, right?
Manga.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a Shonen Jump manga, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah.
It's either Weekly Shonen Jump or the monthly Shonens.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like Ufotable's doing the animation for the anime and stuff like that, so it already looks really good.
Right.
So, I already gave it a chance. I don't know if I want to give it a second chance because I don't really care.
Right.
Too much.
I mean, my thoughts are recorded on an episode.
Yeah, because it sure looks good, but at the same time, Ufotable does stuff that looks really nice, but the choreography isn't always there. You know what I'm saying?
Which is weird because in the in Unlimited Blade Works, it was on point.
See, but that's another thing.
But I wonder because they've got a real... They like to flex hard with Nasuverse stuff.
Yeah.
And I haven't watched much of their stuff outside of the Nasuverse, so I don't know how much, if they put as much effort in.
They also probably have a lot to flex with because they're like, we got all this granddaughter money and everything.
Because I'm not going to lie, I watched the God Eater anime.
It wasn't that great.
It wasn't very good. I mean, it looked good, but I know what you mean by the choreography. The actual action that happened, I'm like, it felt really stilted.
That's the problem that I have when I'm looking at the final season of Attack on Titan. I'm like, yeah, it looks good, but at the same time, it doesn't look right. Like what they're doing, like this is based off the trailer. Though I haven't watched it yet because I'm waiting for it to finish so I can just watch it.
It might be. It's
like I'm so anticipating.
There's fear right now that this season might not actually finish the manga.
The final season of Attack on Titan might not be the final season.
Yeah, they might have to
that's
end it up and wrap it up in like
that's the fear right now because the manga looks like it's getting ready to wrap up. It just depends on what the heck freaking Aaron is going to do right now.
So,
but if it might not get there.
So for starters, it started back in December. It started in the middle of December. So it was kind of, it was like at the end of last season before the beginning of this season.
So they have.
So it's going to be around like May when it ends.
So they started adapting. What I'm saying is, even if they do like a season one, season two,
might not finish by the time they
the manga could still be going on by the time they literally run out of content. They didn't think that was going to happen, but reading the latest chapter and seeing what might happen.
That guy's got to do just do your gut reaction, man. Just put it out there. Like, let me see this like terrible ending. Let me see this ending that you're so
he has
afraid
an
to
ending.
show.
He has an ending. So I think Trash Takes was talking about it.
Oh, he does.
And you can almost spot it from the very first chapter of the manga.
Yeah.
All the stuff that's happening right now, all of it was predicted in the first couple chapters.
So
all of it.
The guys at the Trash Takes podcast, I think one of them, I think it was Joey, the anime man.
Yeah.
Said there's a Attack on Titan museum or exhibition that they have, and he said there's one exhibit where it's just a completely pitch black room, and it just has audio playing of what the author wants the ending of Attack on Titan to be. It's literally just dialogue and sound.
So just letting you know, if you liked Code Geass and how it ended, I think this is going to be a Code Geass ending. It looks like it's going to be a Code Geass ending. We might get some stupid time travel shenanigans, stupid stuff, but it looks like it's going to be a Code Geass kind of ending, which I'm okay with.
I'm so excited, man.
But it's the fear right now is the manga might not actually finish by the time the anime catches up, because the first season adapted about 30 or 40 chapters and it was 26 episodes or something like that.
Right.
So if they do 26 episodes here, they're going to catch up to the manga. And the manga looks like it might not finish until after the summer.
But I thought it was like at the last 4 chapters.
Yeah, that's what it looked like, and we're not sure what's going on right now.
I just want to see some of these fights.
Yeah,
the Colossal Titan standing guard. I want to see Aaron fight the Thunderhead Titan. I want to see the Cart Titan roll out.
Man.
It's all going to be really
I'm so excited.
Sad.
Yeah.
What? Next segment we have to talk about. We gotta talk about those video games you were talking about that we played during childhood. It's like, first video game you think about your childhood that you ever played. Go. Super Mario RPG. Why that one?
Disney Pixar's A Bug's Life.
Wow. What?
Disney Pixar's A Bug's
Life. Ask him video game from childhood.
Video game from childhood. First one you ever played that you can remember. Go.
Super Alfred Chicken.
Oh, this is going to be the worst episode. Super Alfred Chicken, Super Mario RPG, and whatever the heck this Bug's Life thing is.
Disney Pixar's A Bug's Life.
And what is George's game? Oh, we got to predict George's game.
George is...
Because he doesn't play video games anymore.
If I'm not mistaken, it's a video game.
Oh, wow.
Super Alfred Chicken?
That is pretty lame.
How many of you out there, much less having ever played it, ever heard of Super Alfred Chicken? We would never have... I've never seen it on YouTube.
Say the title one more time.
Super Alfred Chicken.
So it's not like Alfredo chicken.
Alfred. We will fire it up. It's garbage.
Right. As most games are.
So growing up, Eric and I both got us... We had one Super Nintendo growing up at first. Then it got to the point where it's like, well, hey, Dad, Mom...
Wait a minute. This cover looks a little familiar.
We might have
Where's
showed
the
it.
gameplay?
We might have showed it to. Well, you're gonna fire it up on your computer and see how trash this is. But there came a point growing up where we're like, hey, Jeff's playing Donkey Kong Country 2 all the time. Eric wants to play. So Dad's like, fine. For one of Eric's birthdays, he gets a Super Nintendo as well. Comes with. It was a collective system that came
Donkey Kong Country.
So it came with Donkey Kong Country. Grandma for Eric's birthday, got him Super Alfred Chicken. I think she probably just picked a random game that was at Toys R Us for Eric.
She's like, this one sounds fun.
We would have never heard of this game otherwise. I've never seen anybody on the internet ever advertise this. I've never seen it on your like really weird old retro games. Anyone ever play it? But we had Super Alfred Chicken, and man, you want to talk about some frustrating hours. Just trying to figure. Yeah, it's a platformer, but there's like, what am I doing?
You can peck the ground.
But so like how there's the Yoshi's ground pound.
Yeah.
It's like that mechanic, but floaty, and you're a dart.
And you dive like at an angle?
No, you dive straight down.
Oh, gotcha.
You go straight. You can like move going straight down, but you go straight down. Yeah. And that's how you kill enemies. Otherwise, when you touch an enemy, you instantly die. No health bar. You just die.
Dude,
so it's hard.
Ghouls and goblins or whatever?
But harder. It is stupid hard, and we never got very far because it was so hard and so stupidly unfair and didn't make sense. But we got it and we played it.
Battletoads.
We played a lot of Battletoads at like a daycare we used to go to. They had Battletoads there, but we never owned Battletoads and played
like,
it.
This won't keep them entertained because they'll never beat it.
And Battletoads was like so edgy with like...
Was it really?
Yeah, with like the toads that are like this giga jacked like 80s bodybuilder looking thing, and like these vixen looking chicks and stuff that you have that you're trying to save and stuff. And it's just like... When you think pinnacle 90s action movie, but with toads, that's Super Battletoads. It's literally all those tropes in a game, but someone was like, hey, instead of Stallone and Schwarzenegger, let's do frogs.
Nice.
But yeah, that is a segment we have to do, is like, let's talk about those video games and why on earth they're ingrained in our brains, because Super Alfred Chicken sucks.
Someone put a reminder. Put it on your phone right now and put a reminder for like 8 o'clock in 2 weeks.
I can't.
Michael Jordan, Trouble in the Windy City.
Is that a game?
It is an actual game. I think it's Chaos in the Windy City. It is. The game is weird. Never got very far either because it's. I don't know if we were just really bad at games growing up or if the game was like legitimately hard. But I remember growing up, Eric and I almost 100%ed Kirby Superstar with no guide. We almost 100%ed Donkey Kong Country 2, no guide. And then this freaking Michael Jordan and the Chaos in the Windy City comes up, and we get like 4 levels in, and we just get filtered. We just can't beat this. It's too hard. I don't know why I'm throwing ice basketballs and then fire basketballs.
Dad, make it easier.
So it's hard to figure out. It's like, were we just bad video games, or were we good at the video games that were good and the video games that were legitimately garbage? They're garbage.
Kirby games are designed to be easier, but when you get like into when you dive more into them, when you dive more into them, they get harder.
Like there's 3 save files on it. Like, we had 99% on all 3 save files.
We literally marched through that game that many times. It's like, Eric, we're doing this afternoon. All right, let's go. Let's do it. Like we found the copy planet by ourselves. We had so much time. We're like, we're gonna go to every single one of these stars on the map and just and then one of them opened up and we're like, what? Because in that part of Kirby Superstar, you can pick the power that you want to be instead of getting it from enemies. Because so it's 7 games in one, but not really. It's the same system in all of them. And the last game you play, you don't copy powers anymore. You have to find those powers, and then you can freely switch between them. One of the powers for the longest time we could never find. It was the copy power. At first we were like, why would you want to copy a power when you can just pick all the other ones? But we're like, no, there's a spot down here, and why would they have this empty spot? So for the longest time, we're like, it's got to be here somewhere. So we scour literally all the levels and we could never find it. So we're like, maybe there's a hidden level out here we could never see. But us being dumb kids, it's not a planet. So how could we miss the level? So one of us was like, let's just start checking the stars. And one of the other of us was like, that's stupid. But we do it anyway, and we found it. Eric literally goes bonkers because it's his favorite power because... As the helper, the second player, you can't control what power you want to be. You're at the mercy of Kirby to make you that character's power. As the copy character, you can steal whatever power you want to, fully heals you, and then you can get rid of it when you want to. And his base attack is retardedly good.
So there's a few mechanics to copy. So one, normally when you got a guard button with your character, right? And they just pose, and you still take you get knocked around, and you can still take damage after a while. With copy, you just blend, you just turn into a face and just blend in the background. Nothing can hurt you.
So it's like in Smash Brothers when you're blocking and you have that shield, and then the shield slowly gets down. With copy, no shield comes up, and you just are phased through.
You're like Ryu, and you just kind of oh no, like you literally just
you are not
background.
You're not a collidable object anymore.
Can you move?
just
Wow,
no, you can't. Okay, but still, that's stupidly powerful.
Yeah,
it's a dumb mechanic because if you take too much damage to the helper, you start running around on fire, and you take the power of the first thing you run into. With copy, you don't have to worry about that.
Right.
And another mechanic with copy is his attack is just he sends out his fist because that's how he takes powers.
Right.
There's some bosses like the wisp trees.
Right.
With copy, if you just stand next to them, it hits their hitbox and it resets his fist. So you just power this boss down literally like a second.
Because normally when you do an attack, you have to go through the whole animation and then there's like a recovery.
Right.
With him, you punch and then everything just resets, so you can instantly do the attack again.
So it's just a machine gun.
Come on.
So we're going into those bosses, and like the first. So like in Milky Way Galaxy, there's a set of bosses where you fight the single will-wisp tree, and you can't do that. So it takes us a little bit longer to kill that. But when you go to the 2, Eric literally would sit down there, and by the time we would land, he would have one of them killed already because he's punching it on the way down. It kills it turns and instantly kills the other one, and the boss fight ends like that.
On the way down.
Like I can't even do an attack first because he's killing a boss on the way down.
Step aside,
kills the other one.
Kirby.
We'll have to show you somebody actually like speed runs and does that because it's actually really comical watching it happen because it shouldn't do that, and copy can just do that.
I don't think it's an actual speedrun tactic, but it's what we did to beat the boss, and it was hilarious.
I'm just thinking about playing Buzz Lightyear as Sarkman, or Toy Story 2, the video game or whatever, and just climbing up trees and just trying to do a race with RC or whatever, and just loop around.
I played the first one on the Super Nintendo.
The one with Woody where you whip.
Yeah, that was a weird game.
Very weird.
And then
the second one was really good.
you would get into these weird segments where you would be the RC car and the game would totally change. And I'm like, what is this game? Collecting stars and stuff.
The original Toy Story game was very bizarre or whatever.
It was
the
very
second
bizarre.
one was really cool because it was a legit 3D platformer.
Okay.
And so it was very janky because it's a Pixar game.
Right.
But it's actually so we grew up on base PlayStation and PC games. So it was pretty much Hot Wheels Lego games on PC and then PlayStation.
Did you ever play Hot Wheels Stunt Track Driver?
I believe so.
We found another one.
Yes.
We found another one.
Absolutely. And
that.
I remember bringing this up with the Henrys or whatever, and they're so confused. They're like, "What are you talking about?" I think I mentioned this to you guys.
I remember. I think I remember
the blue
this.
tracks. And you're like, "Yeah."
We're gonna have to go look all these up now. I
man.
can't tell you how many times we played that game, that Stunt Track Driver. And there was one course towards the end we could never beat for the longest time because you would keep running into the side on one of the turns and you would just die.
Our computer couldn't handle it. We were the game. Yeah.
That's what we had.
The computer would jank out mid-level sometimes or whatever.
THQ made that game?
THQ made this.
Our PC would crash sometimes mid-level or whatever, and just
I think I remember our first computer having problems with games. Well, our first computer had problems playing pretty much any game.
Our older computer, I think it was the first computer, but man, when you would turn the thing on, it would play "Give Me Some 11" by whatever his face. When it would start up, and it would say Windows 98 or whatever, and I'm just I like the songs and stuff like that. And then when my dad got a new computer and didn't do that, I was just there's no music playing. I was I didn't even know that that was a weird thing that happened or whatever. It was just
Computers back then were a different breed.
Yeah, you start it up and it just starts playing music, and I'm just what's going on?
When we were growing up, Final Fantasy was my thing. Final Fantasy 2 was I know that game. Final Fantasy 4, I know that game inside and out. I can tell you almost everything. I wanted Final Fantasy 7 so bad. I wanted a PlayStation. Dad's no, we're Nintendo in this house.
We're Nintendo.
So I'm there's no way.
He gave us a choice, and we picked Nintendo.
So we got a 64 over a PlayStation, and that's how it was.
I mean, so Nintendo's got some very good games on. Like PlayStation, if you pick PlayStation or whatever, you'd be growing up with the craziest, weird, obscure games like Wipeout, like the old days.
Yeah, we'd be
Wipeout
playing
or whatever.
JRPGs.
Ogre Battle 64.
But see, like it's
Blast
more of what
Core.
you know about them.
Yeah, we would know about them.
You wouldn't know about them.
Yeah, from GamePro magazine. We knew everything. Yeah.
Would have known about
Yeah.
them. yeah.
So
there was no we didn't get magazines till Game Informer.
We got all the precursors before Game Informer.
Yeah.
GamePro magazine, and we got Nintendo Power, and there was one other one that we got all the time. I can't remember what it was called, but
Level Up or something.
but I wanted Final Fantasy VII so bad and couldn't get it. Then we get a PC, and then one day at Electronics Boutique, it wasn't EB Games yet.
Right,
At Electronics Boutique, I see it. I see that triangular box of Final Fantasy VII, and I'm like, that's it. That's what I'm spending my money on. And I get it. I get it. The game literally takes hours to install on our computer because it has to install all the assets from all 3 discs all at once. And then when you start to play it, the game crashes like every 10 minutes. It crashes all the freaking time.
But you're so committed.
But we played it and we beat that freaking game on PC. Crashes and all. It literally took us years.
How many times did you have to fight
to
Sephiroth off?
I can't tell you how many times.
The thing also was our monitor turned purple.
Oh yeah, we'd have to hit the side because I think one of us was retarded and took a magnet to the side of it and just messed up with the polarity. So it would occasionally just turn purple. So you'd have to beat on the side of it to get it back to normal colors.
Just in the middle of like, boom.
Yeah.
Sometimes the computer would freeze and you have to hit the top of it in a specific spot.
Oh yeah, I understand. that.
Vacuum tubes were a different beast.
I understand that because we had I think multiple DVDs with that problem or whatever.
So PC was how we played and beat Final Fantasy VII, and for Eric, Final Fantasy VIII, which was actually the superior way to play because it came with the in Japan they had that Chocobo whatever Tamagotchi
it was a
thing.
handheld thing. Yeah.
Which
like a
we
Pokewalker or
which we
something like
didn't
that,
get in America, but for the PC port, they ported that entire software over to the Final Fantasy VIII PC version.
Yeah,
So that's Eric got all of that, and that's how we beat both Final Fantasy VII and VIII growing up, subverting the we only do Nintendo here. Played it on PC, so we did that in Command and Conquer on
we
PC.
only do Nintendo and PC.
So
Man,
that's
dude,
what
we
did.
had so PS2, right? So we got one. Chris is playing it out.
And that's when Dad broke down because I asked for a PS2, and I guess I was old enough where he's like, "Oh, that Nintendo only bullcrap isn't going to work for a 14-year-old," so I got a PS2. But
I mean that was similar with M-rated games for me and my dad or whatever because like it was you had to follow the ESRB or whatever. That was the rule or whatever. You could play.
Dad didn't
You
give a
could
crap.
play shooting games as long as you're not shooting humans. So like things like Star Wars. Where you're shooting droids, half the time it's like, well, what if you're playing as a droid? Nah, don't worry about it. It's Star Wars.
What if a stormtrooper comes up? I have a moral conundrum now.
Yeah, I know, right? And so like that. But when I was 16, I wanted to play SOCOM Confrontation or whatever. And I was just like, and it was
Mr. Pickle, Boomer, Bikuna, and all that.
It was very cheap at the time, even then or whatever. And I was like, Dad, I know we're not able to play M games, but he looked at it and. I don't know if I can prove this, but I think he thought of me as the most mature one.
Okay.
Out of me and my brothers or whatever.
I believe it.
Because he like looked at it and
He looked at you and you're like, looking at him like
this. Yeah, like looking at him with his lighter and stuff. And he was like, all right. Yeah, and so that was the first M-rated game I was allowed to own. We were allowed to play them at other friends' houses.
But you
we weren't
couldn't
allowed
own
to
them?
own
Okay.
them and stuff. So that was the first one I got or whatever. But anyways, back to the PS2 thing or whatever and stuff like that. We're playing PS2, or Chris is playing PS2. We got that big giant tube TV, right? It's sitting on top, right?
Yep.
He's sitting on the floor in a beanbag, feet up on there, and stuff like that. I think something happens, kicks.
I remember you telling me this story.
TV literally lands on top of the PlayStation 2. It's demolished. Thing is no more or whatever.
Oh no.
And then it was like, so we were like, we don't have a PS2 anymore, and we have all these games, but we want to get some new games from GameStop. So it was like, sell all the PS2 games or whatever. 2 years later, Uncle buys us another PS2.
Awesome. Thank you, Uncle.
But we don't have any PS2 games anymore.
Gotta go and get them again.
Yeah, so.
That's awesome.
But,
SOCOM was an awesome, fun game. I will always love and remember SOCOM because when the second one came out, that was my very first foray into playing video games online. I got the network adapter for the PS2. I hardwired that bad boy in from the router downstairs, wired that thing all the way up through the house, plugged it in, and I played SOCOM with that janky microphone that they gave you.
Yeah.
I did that talk to dudes online playing SOCOM 2 way late in the early mornings.
Our first online play was technically RuneScape. But that's PC or whatever. PC doesn't really like. We're talking about like console games or whatever. The first thing we ever played online was Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. When you can connect to the Wi-Fi or whatever. Because I was like, like in my head, I'm like, Dad's gonna get a bill for us using the internet, like for the Wi-Fi, because you're not computing how Wi-Fi works or whatever. It's like, I'm just like, are we allowed to do this? I don't actually. I was like. But man, I'm getting that shiny colored Jirachi.
Is Dad gonna get a bill from the Nintendo company?
Yeah.
For my shiny colored Jirachi?
Because it's like it's in your head. It's like I was thinking of things like I think WoW or something like that.
Right.
And stuff like that, where it's like you're playing.
You want to talk about WoW?
Yeah, you're paying to play, right?
Yeah.
Like WoW wasn't free to play, right?
Never. Still isn't.
Yeah. So I'm just like, we're playing online. That's gonna cost something. And stuff like, but RuneScape would actually say free to play. Or whatever,
right.
Click on it and stuff like that. So like you would know that you're not costing any money or whatever playing.
Right.
Still wouldn't do it in front of the parents. I would
that's
like
funny.
do it in secret or whatever.
That is too funny.
But man, like playing games online is just
that was the first one I played, and then I didn't. Then I went to college and didn't really have a console that first year in college. But my second, third year and onward, I got a 360, and then I started playing Halo,
Fantasy Star Universe,
Halo 3, and Call of Duty 4 a lot online, and that was my SOCOM 2 was my first entrance into online gameplay, either PC or console. But it wasn't until Modern Warfare and Halo 3 where I lived online and played games.
Right.
Eric, on the other hand, man,
being the good Korean child I was, my first online game was StarCraft Brood Wars.
Oh yeah, so I did play some. I didn't play nearly as much StarCraft as Eric
I played
did.
a ton of StarCraft.
Because so what it's seeming like, and I know it's not like very exclusive,
fast as possible, no rush 20.
Oh yeah.
It seems like you played a lot more of the linear games, and he watched you play them.
And then he played a lot more of the
multiplayer games, and you're just kind of like, I'll jump into this a little bit.
Because I mean, the games I played, like single player, was literally like Pokemon, and then I'd watch Jeff play.
Right.
And then when I started playing my own games, it was StarCraft into CS 1.6.
He played a lot of Counter-Strike. I played a lot of Counter-Strike with Eric as well. Man, Eric played a ton of 1.6.
Yeah, because I played so much that the guys I was playing with on the server tried out for the Amateur Cow League and didn't do too bad.
Nice.
And I guess we found out years later, one of the guys on the server we played in all the time lived in the same town as us. Literally like 30 or 40 streets down from where we lived.
Wow. Oh, man.
Shout outs to that guy.
Shout out to that guy. You know who you are.
Yeah. And then after CS 1.6, I played Diablo 2. A lot of Diablo 2.
Okay, so I lied. I did play actually a lot of PC games growing up too online. I remember playing, so not as much as Eric, so maybe that's why, because Eric played so much Diablo 2, so much Counter-Strike 1.6. I played with him just so I could play with Eric online, but I didn't play, like I would be done and then I would go back to the PS2 and play some games, and Eric is still there grinding cow levels, grinding Bale 02, Bale 03 on
I played
Diablo 2.
so much Diablo 2 that I owned 3 copies of the game and had all the accounts filled with like different mule characters and stuff like that. So I keep transferring in between them. So it was always interesting going to Electronics Boutique,
buying another copy of
I'd buy
Diablo
a
2.
copy of Diablo and they'd be like, "Are you allowed to buy this?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "We're gonna have to like talk to a parent or something," and I would have to be like, "Grandma,
Grandma, come on.
Because he's still 10, 11, 12 at the time, and his voice hasn't like sunk to this level yet. So he's talking like that, and they're like looking at him funny. And I'm like, what's so weird about that? All he does is play Diablo 2.
You're like, are you looking at him funny because he's Asian?
But I literally bought like 3 Diablo 2 battle chests.
Yeah.
I played Diablo 2 so much.
Which weren't cheap. They were $40 a pop at the time.
Right. And yeah.
Every time they like showed up at Electronics Boutique, I bought one. So I love that game. Played a little bit of Warcraft 3.
Yeah.
And then it all went downhill.
Wow. Because I remember specifically watching the Fiesta Bowl and watching Brady Quinn and Notre Dame play whoever against Ohio State. And I'm sitting there, and that's where Eric and I first jump into this monster known as World of Warcraft. So I start playing it with him too a little bit because I'm like, hey, my bro's playing World of Warcraft. I'll play some World of Warcraft too. So I play for about a month or two, and then I get sick of, killing saber-toothed lions and getting pelts forever. So I finally dip out and go and live life and play other games. But no, Eric stays, and he doesn't just stay. He builds an empire.
Welcome to my kingdom.
Yeah, I don't stop until like 2014.
Oh man,
it was like 2000.
That was after.
So we're literally talking a decade of his life.
Yeah. I spent so much time on Warcraft. Oh my goodness.
I literally remember like almost every birthday or Christmas coming around, just the next expansion, getting that for him, the next birthday, and the next birthday.
They always released expansions.
Like every six months or something?
It was like November, December.
Right.
So I was always like a month behind. But I was like, I know for my birthday, I'm getting the expansion.
Right.
That's how it was with Burning Crusade. That's how it was with Wrath.
And he would catch back up to everyone that already had it a month ahead of him like that. He would be like, poof, I'm there with everyone.
Hello. Well,
it's just like
back.
World of Warcraft broke a lot of things in me because it was always like
it broke a lot of things.
If you want to know why Eric is the way he is now instead of what he could have become, 2005 Fiesta Bowl.
So it's just like,
that's it, man.
we always had like a strict bedtime, right? It was like we couldn't stay
Yeah,
up no
like
later
9:30 around.
Right.
Around
But
then.
it's just like I was to the point. I was like, I want to raid. Like I want to.
I don't want to sleep. Right.
I want to kill big bosses. So like, we'd go to bed, right? And parents like good night and all that. They would go downstairs, they'd go to bed and get ready. And I'm like, I think it's time. I get back up and then like I try to put on my headphones, be as quiet as possible. I'm sitting there until like 1 a.m, like raiding.
And I remember this because I'm like sleeping, and occasionally I would get up and like go because his room on one side of the hallway, mine's on the other, and there's a bathroom in between. And occasionally I would get up and go pee, and then I would come back and like. The rule in the house was doors stay open. So they were propped behind our desks. So there's no hiding anything. Yeah. So I would come out from the bathroom and I'm like, it's 1 a.m. Eric's up playing. I know he shouldn't play. He shouldn't be up. And I'm just like, and I just go back to bed. I'm like 13, because I'm like, I bought him that game. He paid money to play every month. Whatever, I'm going to bed.
I'm 13, 14 at the time, right? And I've always been told, like, you got to do this. You can't stay up past this time. You got to do all this.
Time to rebel.
I was like, oh, I want to raid. I was like, I'm doing Soul Grub. I'm doing Molten Core. We're doing AQ20. I'm into I've killed a Nixia. I'm in the forays at BWL.
Nah, man. It's time to raid.
It's like, I got to raid. But it's like, I'm up to like 1 a.m. It's like, I can't.
And this goes on for years.
Oh my goodness.
Years. I would come back from college on the weekends and Eric's there at middle of the night. I would get up, use the bathroom again, and I got like a final that's coming up like the next week, and Eric's there raiding. And that's where, Rock Band and Guitar Hero start to be a thing. And that's where he's like, the mic is now going to be the Rock Band mic. And FYE was still a thing in our area, and he needs headphones. So the Logitech ones would break after a while, and he would get the crappy Skull Candies and stuff.
That's where all that came from. I played WoW until the Dare expansion.
14, right?
14, 15. And that's, I guess, when I started stabilizing.
Back to reality.
Yeah, because it was around that time, like he'd be coming to visit me more frequently, like a couple times a year, coming for the conventions and stuff, and just starting to break because he wasn't. WoW happened first, and then anime happened.
Yeah.
And then comes the juggling of all like the hobbies, and then visiting Jeff, and like, anime's getting a big thing, and WoW's starting to like die down a bit. And then StarCraft 2 started to blow up at the time, and we're getting more invested into seeing that.
Yeah.
And there was that kind of like natural progression, a little bit of WoW dying, but Eric's still like, I gotta raid. It's in my it's in my bones.
I think I got burnt out on WoW too at that point because I was raiding. So, like I said, I was literally one of the best in the world.
Right.
And I was just like, I'm playing 8 to 10 hours a day just to maintain this.
It would be funny because there was times I would come back like my senior year of college, coming back on the weekend every once in a while. First semester or second semester, Eric is literally there raiding in the middle of the night, and then he would come like the next day and complain to me. He's like, I should get paid to do this. I'm literally managing like 80 people. They have all of these jobs and roles. I've assigned them to this. Here's where they're supposed to be and go, and they're not doing it. And we need to get this loot, and they're acting like children. And I'm just sitting there like, I think that's when it finally hit me. I'm like, this is real for Eric. This is Eric is World of Warcraft.
I was in it. Like World of Warcraft was because I played for funsies and vanilla as much as you could as a 13-year-old.
Right.
Burning Crusade, same thing. Wrath is when it started hitting me. I was like, I can actually be good at this. Cataclysm, I ended up quitting in Cataclysm. I don't remember.
Yeah, I remember there was a spot there where he just got like mega mad at like World of Warcraft and he just stopped. And I was like, Eric, do you want the next expansion or not? And he's just like being all Eric grumbly and like not saying yes, but not saying no. I'm like,
because he does want it,
I'm
but
like,
at the
well,
same time he
do
doesn't
you
want
want
it.
to
Like,
get the
I
expansion
came back
or
for
not?
I came back for the final dungeon of Cataclysm and I tore it up. Like that's when I became one of the best lords. Like for that one dungeon, I was like 2000 arena with Big Cat. I was doing raiding top, all that, all the World of Warcraft stuff.
Was Big Cat really into it too, or
He was into it. He really liked PvP, so I PvP'd a lot with him. So
Gotcha.
2K in arena is pretty respectable. Yeah, 2000 MMR.
Oh, gotcha.
So we did that, and then it just hit me. I was like, "There's so much to do in this. I can't keep up with it." Because at the time, I was like, I might go to a different guild and all this.
Right.
I was like,
Where's your alliance?
Yeah, well, it's like if I move up to something.
breaking up.
Well, it's just like I moved up to something more hardcore, and then I was just like, I can't do this. This is too much. And then Warcraft stopped.
And anime started to ramp up more, and coins started to ramp up more, and
Anime doesn't
you
let
started
me
to
down.
ramp up more.
Right. Nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's childhood video games in a nutshell.
That's part of it. We didn't even talk about them. But
I know,
We'll
right?
say that for next time.
Yes, 2 hours of content.
Yeah,
Losers can leave again.
Let me end these before they run out of